Now, your party, the PDP, there was a federal high court judgment recently that more or less conferred, ownership or leadership of the party on the Wike-led executive. Now, the question is, let's be frank, Segun, don't give us political responses. Be very upfront with Nigerians. Who is the chairman of your party? Is it the Wike-installed executive or the Turaki-led executive?
You want frank?
Absolutely.
There can be no basis for any action taken in spite of 2 court judgments stating and clearly saying otherwise. And upon the expiry of the Damagun-led executive, the only leg available for the PDP now is the Anyanwu caretaker. Had Anyanwu been careless to allow the time to expire of that executive, we would have been in bigger trouble than we are now. So if you ask me, the only executive that can be known to law, and that's what we're beginning to get, is the one that says it's a caretaker. Now, before the Court of Appeal, and all the arguments are in, I believe that the judges are now about, putting the judgments together, and maybe they will be called upon, given a date to come and hear their judgment. Therefore, we should be careful not to stimulate the conversation one way or the other. But if, within reasonable limits, our own understanding of how the law works or how the law ought to work is anything to go by, you will not be able to build anything, something or nothing. And it will be incredulous to imagine that upon the interpretation of both Lifu and Omotosho, the Ibadan executive can see the light of the day. That's one. 2, I'm interested in these matters and I've followed it. I've read a minority judgment of Milord Abang in the Court of Appeal, which substantially wrote and agreed with Justice Omotosho to the extent that don't interfere. It's not a blanket opportunity for you to sit in your party, break each other's head, come to court and tell the court to tell you that. And I know that even though it was a minority judgment in one other case, it has gone all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court have agreed, rightfully, with Justice Okon-Abang, rightfully with the position of Omotosho, that within certain context, the court still has an opportunity to make some pronouncement based on the matters we bring before them. And in this particular case, I do not see, I may be wrong, I do not see how you can sidestep Lifu, Justice Lifu, sidestep Justice Omotosho, and claim that the judge will now help you to encourage your recidivist tendencies, which is your consistent desire not to obey court orders. It's best you don't go to court, but once you go to court, you must be sensible enough to obey the orders. But hey, magic do happen. The Supreme Court is a court of policy, and it can also, by policy, come up with any other things until the judgment is here. They will have to just wait.
So in a nutshell, currently, the Wike-led executive...
when you call it Wike-led, it really offends me. It offends me personally, because I do not like the idea of an organization as big, with the kind of history of PDP, being called one person's zone. It really gets on my nerve. You may say supported. He's not a member of that caretaker committee, and it is within his right to support whoever he wants to support. But what I'm saying is that within the Damagun-led NWC that we had before, which is the spin-off of the IU-installed NWC, it is the caretaker that can be recognized because they were clever enough to institute their caretaker before the expiration of that tenure. And therefore, technically, that is still the Damagun-led NWC.
I don't know why you're offended. Wike has never minced words in letting the whole world, not just Nigerians, know that he more or less, pretty much decides what happens or doesn't happen in the PDP. He has said it, that nothing would happen.
If you do not say the Bola Tinubu-led NWC to APC, I take offense to the fact that you are reducing the PDP to a Wike-led, and I'm very...
Is that not correct?
It's not correct. If you cannot say the Bola Tinubu-led APC, then don't you dare say the Wike-led, because Wike is not a member of that NWC caretaker, and just as Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a member of the Natawe NWC. The point I'm trying to make, which I hope you get persuaded, and if you don't, good, but I'm still making it, is that to strengthen democratic institution, we must consciously refuse to personalize it, no matter how tempting that is. Because if we do that, let me tell you what will happen. Over time, we will not have institutions. We will only have cult of human personalities. So this which I do is not out of naivety. It is to introduce a serum into the system that allows us to stop personalizing everything. If Wike is supporting them, yes, he is. If he has some influence in it, yes, he does, but do not call it the Wike-led. If you cannot call APC the Bola Tinubu-led. What is sauce for the gander is sauce for the goose.
Okay, this question dovetails into my next question. The G5, Seyi Makinde,
Former G5,
Seyi Makinde, Governor, FCT Minister, former Governor River, Wike, Okezie-Ikpeazu, Governor Samuel Oto, and all of them. Anyway, so they were very chummy. You know, they had lots of camaraderie amongst themselves. They pretty much scuttled former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's presidential ambition 2023. Yeah, they pretty much did. I mean, they made sure they didn't win Rivers. Segun, let me ask the question, then you can respond. They made sure they did neither campaign in Rivers nor won. So, and they delivered for President Bola Tinubu. They delivered for him. And Wike, the G5 did not hide their position, you know. Now, the question is, suddenly, they've fallen apart, at least when Governor Makinde of Oyo State has broken ranks with them, especially the FCT minister. They seem to be at loggerheads, not even seem, they are at loggerheads, to the point where allegations were made by Governor Seyi Makinde that they were having a meeting with President Bola Tinubu. And at that meeting, Wike, off the cuff, promised the president that he would hold down his words, hold down the PDP for the president to ensure the president gets re-elected 2027. Of course, Mr. Wike denied. The question is, do you believe Governor Seyi Makinde? Who do you believe?
You see, I want us to differentiate asking a question from having a dialogue.
Yeah.
If you want to ask a question, keep it simple.
Okay.
If you
I just need to give you a context.
If you want to ask a question, keep it simple.
Do you believe Seyi Makinde?
I don't.
Why?
Because I know them all. I've been in this party since it was registered. And I've been loyal, faithful, diligent with this party from the get-go, and I've never left. I've had the grace and the honor and the dignity of watching even my father, Obasanjo, tear his card. As much as I love him, Segun Sale, I didn't leave the party. I've had the privilege of watching my beloved senior brother, Governor Benga Daniel, leave the party a few times. As much as I respect his vision and his ideas, I've never left. I've watched my former principal, Atiku Abubakar, leave a few times. I've never left. So when I talk about PDP, I'm not talking as an outsider. I'm talking as one of their totem who was actually carrying them. I knew when they all came. See, the thing I say, because of the way you couched it, is that at Governor Seyi Makinde's last birthday, last part, I wrote him a letter where I tried to say, look, you guys, the five of you, succeeded to the extent of creating a movement of your own, and you fought very hard to make a point in the 2023 election. Although I don't believe you won the election for the president, that's a lie. They've been winning elections without Rivers, and even if they didn't get Rivers, perhaps I don't know what would have happened. Congestion, they contributed, but I hate when people take the glory of other people's work. And I then said to Governor Seyi Makinde, you guys, you must go back to your 4 friends, your 5 friends, and you guys go and sort it out. Because not sorting it out with your 5 friends is going to leave the party worse off. I can accept that you had a political struggle with the mainstream, if you like, and maybe you guys think you won. Okay. But now that you're fighting or you're not agreeing with yourself, why don't you go back to that same energy that allowed you to agree, so that you can use that energy inside to agree, and then we can lead the party? Why was I saying that? Because I knew that we're going to be pluralized beyond common sense. You can't have a G1 fighting a G4. You can't. You will try, but you may not succeed, and it's beginning to pan out. When people ask questions and I answer honestly, it's not because I want to take side. It's because I have the benefit of long-term play in this space. And I know how things can sometimes be. Nobody has a magic wand, but I knew that if Seyi Makinde, Bala Mohammed, Wike, Fintiri were not, if they were chummy, the 4 of them would have been able to have some robustness to say, okay, this is the position. That they are not seismic twins. Nobody's a seismic twins in politics. Seismic twins in politics. The umbilical cord can be cut, and it can be cut because of interest. It can be cut because of disagreement, even something very small and personal. It can be cut because I see it this way, you see it. Wike is even the most consistent of them. His position in 2023, and when I do this, you people make it seem as if I'm his man. Wike doesn't even, he's not my man like that. I'm just a realist. In the build up to 2020, Seyi and Wike and co agreed and said that their problem was that they needed a southern president and it should be somebody of the south. That was the argument. And it was a little bit persuasive because Buhari had just finished 8 years. Wike is still standing there. What changed with Seyi? He's no longer there. Okay, maybe he wants to be the president. Not a problem. It's within everybody's right to have ambition. Shouldn't he not have tried to convince his 4 friends so that they'll be on the same page with him and they can try? And if he really believes that his position is that, oh, Wike wants to hold down the party for APC, I think that when people attribute too much to an individual, they're only saying that they are lazy, they are stingy, they are unstrategic, and they are not painstaking. Because no one man should have the powers to do that much, except that when the work is there to be done, everybody pretends that they don't know how to do the job, then the one man does the job. When the funding is required to be spent, everybody pretends they cannot find money, then that one man spends. So if you convert it into one man doing all the donkey work, if he has all the influence, good luck. Good luck.
Let me ask you a straightforward question. And I know you should be a very upfront person. So, because Nigerians are watching. So
I know.
Give them a very upfront response. Seyi Makinde made these heavy allegations against Wike. Now, everything that has panned out, that has played out from that statement, is it materially, evidentially, is it different from what has Governor Wike not done exactly what Seyi Makinde alleged? Remember the horrific show at the PDP Wadata headquarters when they were going to have a meeting and FC Minister, former Governor Wike, went there with policemen and people could have lost their lives. What's your response?
I cannot hold brief for him because I'm not on his payroll and I hardly even meet him. The way you read things in the public is the same way I consume them. Sometimes I don't even have the opportunity of having him to say, dude, why did you do this? You get? But you can, after you've been part of the Nigerian political process since 98, and you are still there, you can draw inferences. And that's all I do. The Wadata issue, if they had gone to Ibadan to do a parallel Congress on the day that Seyi Makinde was doing that his Congress in Ibadan, would it have been reasonably imagined that the governor will have the wherewithal to prevent them? Of course he would. Now, if they are coming to Wadata House, which is the symbol of the authority of the PDP, a secretariat that even has a lot of issues with his ground rent, I was gone blazing, speaking and shouting and screaming on Wike said that please go and solve that problem. That party must not lose the secretariat. If you people want to go there, go and start fighting yourself. And he's the chief security officer of the state, and he provides some security, albeit you believe that he provided it for his friend. Should he have provided security for his enemies if he has a role? So, you see, let us demystify individuals in process thinking. I do not accept that the PDP is right to be in court with itself. I do not accept that brothers who have broken bread together should be fighting a zero-sum game. I don't accept. It is tiring, but the fact remains that once you go to court, you must be disciplined enough to say, as your lordship pleases. You know why they say, as your lordship pleases? I'll tell you. They usually say, as your lordship pleases, because they know that that's his position must be respected, but it is not necessarily because I accept, but he has said. And that the world created that so that we don't have everybody doing self-help. I've told you, we have now luckily gone before the Court of Appeal. The appeal, thankfully, the President of the Court of Appeal has consolidated all the appeal. All the arguments have been argued before a competent Court of Appeal jurisdiction, competence, jurisdiction. Now we are awaiting the judgment. When the judgment come, I don't know what the judgment will read. They will have one more opportunity to go to the Supreme Court. If they will listen to people like me, the judgment should provide us with the opportunity to say, okay, we have exhausted the quarrel. Let us now come together. Because I don't see how any one individual can make a party win. We're looking at our rivals. They are shopping and taking everybody on board. It's becoming tedious to even imagine how are we going to even go against them. Anybody will go against them. And all we want to be doing is quarreling. I put in 26, 27 years in this party. If I am unhappy, I have every right to be, because at the end of the day, I cannot see what they are fighting against. If Wike is the issue, how did he become the issue? I don't think Wike was the issue in 1999. It could not have been the issue in 2003. It couldn't have been the issue in 2007. It was certainly not the issue in 2011. How could it have been the issue in 2015? If you call him the issue in 2019, you are just being unfair. If he becomes the issue in 2023, what did you guys do to him to make him so hostile?